how are you all doing? I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel and to a video about, as you can probably tell from the title and this here spirit jersey, Disney Cruise Line. So if you don't know, because you haven't come across my videos before, or you've just clicked on this video because you found it interesting, I am a Disney Cruise Line crew member, and I thought it would be quite good to film some videos about what that whole process and sort of experience is like, because for me, when I was applying to go and work for Disney Cruise Line, it was a bit like Elsa going into the unknown. There was literally no information anywhere about Disney Cruise Line, so it was literally kind of daunting. And I know over the last couple of months more videos have popped up about Disney Cruise Line, and this is something that I've wanted to film for a really long time, and I've just kept putting it off and putting it off. But I feel like now is the time that I'm gonna start talking about it. And yeah, I just want to be that source of information for you guys. If you've ever been on a cruise and you think, oh, I wonder what it's like to be a crew member, or if ever you've come across a crew member that's inspired you to maybe become one yourself one day, or if you're looking at applying at some point in the future, I want to be able to help you guys with that whole process. So this first one is gonna be about my experience, but then also maybe to try and help you guys with the application process and what you can sort of expect leading up to the point that you're going to go on the ship. So yeah, let's get started with that then, shall we? So, I first applied for Disney Cruise Line back in January 2018. It came up on the Disney Cruise Line like careers section of the Disney careers website. So if you're looking at any sort of job to do with Disney, that's generally where you're gonna go and look for them, and where they'll probably come up if you type in like Disney jobs or like Disney Cruise Line jobs. That's what's gonna pop up. So that is when I randomly decided to apply on a whim for Disney Cruise Line, because the job came up on the website and I was like, I could do that. So that was, let me just grab my handy dandy guide that I wrote down so I knew everything like date wise. So that was on the 25th of January that I applied of 2018. And this may be different depending on how quickly they get back to you and how quickly your process is, but generally it can be either quite quick, or it can be sort of in the middle if things sort of delay you like it was for me, or it can be a really long wait process. So I can't really say what's going to be like for you, but just expect the unexpected, really. It just depends on how quickly you get things done. So for like the application, when I was filling it out, you had to like sign up to the Disney Careers website itself, and then you had to fill out all your like personal information, like your name and your address and all of that, and then you had to put in your work experience and your education history and everything like that, just so they can kind of get to know that sort of side to you, and just answer some basic questions like, do you have tattoos and do you have piercings and all of that kind of a thing. And then obviously when you're going to apply for the actual job, always make sure that you're being relevant to what they're looking for. So don't just put any old thing down. Look at what they're actually specifically looking for in the sort of job posting, and then sort of pick out keywords from that that you can put in your application, and make it very specific. So for me, I didn't have a ton of experience working with kids, compared to some people who I know that I work with that have been working in summer camps for years, or they have a teaching degree and they've been working in schools for a really long time, and I don't think that matters. So if you don't have that much experience, don't worry too much. As long as you sort of put what they want to see in your application, then they're gonna pick up on that, and they're gonna want to maybe look into you a little bit further and then maybe ask you for that interview. So yeah, make sure that you're relevant and that you're just making yourself stand out. It's not just about the experience, it's also about the person that you are. You know, that Disney difference that they're looking for, the person that has that little bit of sparkle and Disney magic behind them that certain people who may be more than qualified for the job might not have, so they might hire you over that person. So that was that on the 25th, and then a couple days later, 5 days later actually, I found out that they wanted to do an interview. So that was through a Disney recruiter that emailed me, and we were doing that back and forth. I arranged that to be on February the 20th. So from the 30th of January until the 20th of February, I was just planning my interview and preparing as much as I could. Like I said, there's not a ton of information out there, but luckily for me, I found a really helpful blog that was all about my job and everything from application to what being on the actual ship was like and what sort of things to expect in the job. And I looked online and looked at sort of the possible interview questions that could come up. Do that as well. Look online and just Google like Disney Cruise Line, say if you're going for housekeeping, Disney Cruise Line housekeeping interview questions, and tons of websites may come up. I know it did for me, which will sort of give you a sort of idea of what kind of things be asked in the interview process. So I made sure that I had all of the information that I could possibly need down that could possibly pop up, and I had written down examples of questions and my sort of answers that I would give and the Disney answer that they might be looking for, and not just you rambling on. January flew by. And then it came to February when I had my interview, and I was all prepared. Had to do it online during video conferencing sort of website, which is probably going to happen to you unless you actually live anywhere near the Disney HQs. I ended up having to do it on a website called Blue Jeans. I don't know if they still use that. It's just a video conferencing website. You just join the meeting and yeah, it's a bit like Zoom or Google Hangout or whatever it's called, where you just listen to them asking questions, you're on mute, and then you answer your questions to them. And that was, I want to say about 40 minutes to an hour long, but if you prepare really well and you know what you're going to say, it's not going to feel that overwhelming. I actually had to reschedule my interview, so my interview wasn't actually on the 20th of February because the person that was doing my interview was double booked that day somehow, so he had to take away my interview, and we ended up rescheduling it for March the 6th, I believe. Yes, so I had March the 6th was my interview instead of the 20th, so that delayed it a little bit for me. So that may happen. Just expect the unexpected, because Disney recruiters are very, very busy people. So if you're delayed in any time during this process, and filling out documents and things like that is taking a while, don't worry, it's not gonna affect anything too much. And also throughout this whole process, I was always told you're not going to be hired until you've completed all the stages. So it's always going to say you're still under consideration for the role, rather than, oh, you've got the role, you just need to do X, Y, Z amount of things. So don't worry too much. You're still probably likely to get the role, but they're going to wait on you to do a lot of different things during that process before you actually go ahead and get the job offer. On March the 12th, which was 6 days later, my application was still under consideration, like I said, but I had an email through asking me to get references and also to start filling out information on the Disney onboarding, what's it called, Central website, which is basically where you put all of your information that they could possibly need, and it's also where you upload all your documents. For me, my references, I needed 6, because obviously I was working with kids. So I doubt it's that many for any other role other than youth activities. I also had to have a background check, so I had to do that through like 2 different background checks. Don't know if that's something that they do outside of youth activities, but I know had to have a lot of references, had to have like 2 different background checks, and then on top of all that, filling out all of your information on the onboarding website, which was a lot. That takes a very long time. So for me, the referencing website, it took like 2 stages. You had to fill out all of your information about your references, and then just answer questions about yourself, and then the references that you were going to ask to give your reference for, they would have to get a link sent to them, I think through you, or they would get an email through to be like, hey, this person has asked for a reference. Yeah, that was a long process. That delayed me quite a lot because I was still waiting on people into April for that to get cleared. Yeah, that took a while, so be prepared for that to happen as well. But once you get all of that sort of side sorted, from getting everything cleared and getting acceptance for like visas and things like that, it's a pretty quick process, and it's a quite a quick turnaround. I know I was quite surprised because I was still sorting out all of this stuff, and I did get a job offer. So yeah, it depends on how quickly you do things and if things go wrong or not, because I know it did for me, which I'll tell you about in a second. So it wasn't until April then, after applying in the January, that I did get a job offer. So on the 23rd of April, I got a job offer for the Disney Dream, actually, to fly out on the 12th of June and then to embark on the ship on the 15th of June. But that obviously didn't happen because this series is called Living in a Fantasy, so some things went wrong. And please don't worry if this happens to you, because I talked to a lot of people once I was on the fantasy, and a lot of them were like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be on the dream too, but this happened. And for me it was my medical. So I scheduled my medical appointment for the 22nd of May, and then I had my visa appointment on the 21st of May, so I had to go obviously to London to sort that out. But yes, my visa was very quick. My medical, not so much. So they give you an option of going to a Disney partnered medical centre. So there's a few dotted around in the UK. I think there's like 1 or 2 in Scotland and then 1 in London, which they're both pretty far from me. I live in the middle of nowhere on the very southwest of Wales. So getting a train to London takes like 5 hours, and then you have to obviously have a hotel, which in hindsight I could have booked a medical appointment in London if I was going to be going there anyway for my visa, but I didn't think about that. So I ended up going to my home doctor, which takes a lot longer, let me tell you. So if I was going to give you any advice, please go to the doctor that they suggest if you can get there, because my medical got messed up. So you have to have a lot of blood tests taken, you have to make sure you have certain injections and everything, you have to have like your eyes tested and your height and your weight and your sound and everything tested to make sure that you are actually able to work on a ship. And my doctor's surgery hadn't done any of this for a really long time, so they were all like, we're not really sure what we're doing, but this is what we've been told to do, and you have to like test for certain things. The medical form is like really long. And yeah, I was done with that. I thought it was going to be all sorted pretty quickly. I had to have like 6 bloods taken, and then I sent it to the medical people that are like a separate company again, from Disney Cruise Line, and then I got an email back and they were like, you're missing this and also this. So that set me back again. So I had to go back for another blood test that they missed because it was like in teeny tiny print right at the bottom of all of the blood tests, things that they have to fill out. And also I had to have had either vaccines for chickenpox to make sure that I was immune, or a blood test, which I didn't know existed, to see if you're immune to chickenpox. Obviously for me, working with kids, that's quite dangerous in adults if you get it again, because it can turn into shingles. So that whole process was just so stressful, and that went on until May, and actually June. It went on until June. On the 12th of June then, the original day that I was supposed to be flying out to Orlando to go and join the Disney Dream on the 15th, I got a new job offer, which was for the Disney Fantasy. So I guess all of that worked out in the end, because I don't really want to work on the Dream. I mean, getting to work on any of the Disney cruise ships is pretty cool, but the Fantasy is pretty great. It's definitely, I was definitely relieved when I got that job offer as opposed to the Disney Dream, because I got to spend more time on the ship, with longer port days and everything like that. And like in my mind I was thinking, if it's like a 3-4 day cruise, I'm not really going to get to know the kids very well, but a 7-day cruise, you're going to get to know these kids, because it takes them a little while to warm up to you, and then by the time that happens on the Dream, they're gone. But on the Fantasy, it takes them a couple days to warm up to you, and then you have up until the end of the cruise, like 4 or 5 days later, to spend more time with them. So that was a good thing for me, and also I got to go to so many different places. And actually when I was embarking, so the 27th of June was the day that I was flying out, and then June 30th was actually the start of the 11-day cruise back in 2018. So that was my new embark day. So that was a wild time, because it was going to all of these amazing ports, and it was really cool. But yes, from January to June, that was my whole application process. So it can get delayed, but just make sure that you're on top of things all of the time, chase things up, make sure that you're getting things done, make sure you've filled everything out, make sure you check and double check all of your forms to make sure that everything is on there. That was that. And then comes the exciting part, which is the traditions and flying out to Orlando and everything, which for me was super scary because I haven't travelled that far before. I'd never been to America at this point. I'd never done a long haul flight. I'd never flown on my own before. So all of this was for the first time, and also I'd never been on a ship before, a cruise ship. So all of these firsts that I was doing all by myself, and it was a very scary time, but I did it, and I'm so glad I did and pushed myself out of that comfort zone. June 27th, which was a Wednesday in 2018, was my day that I was flying out to Orlando. On the Disney Onboarding Central website, they ask you for your home airport, or your closest airport, because Disney Cruise Line actually flies you to and from the ship, which is pretty cool. Not thinking that they were going to fly me from there, I was like, I'll put Cardiff, but they're probably going to send me to London or something. I was wrong. So I ended up having to fly Cardiff to Amsterdam, which was scary for me because that meant transfer flight, which I'd never done before either, and then Amsterdam to Orlando, which was really annoying because like it's an hour to get from Cardiff to Amsterdam, which, you know, is fine, but then you fly back over the UK and it's like a 10-hour flight from Amsterdam to Orlando, so that was super annoying. And yeah, got there. They put you up when you're first joining Disney Cruise Line as a new hire in Pop Century, which is super fun because you get to stay in a Disney resort and just experience the parks and everything before you get to go on the ships. And then the 28th of June, which was a Thursday, was my Traditions Day, which was so magical. If you've ever experienced Traditions, there's really nothing like it. Like, you know, it's when you get to get your name tag for the first time and you get to learn about the company and you get to go to Magic Kingdom for the first time and go backstage. It's just so exciting. And yeah, then the 29th for cruises, you do a second sort of tradition, like charting your course or something like that, chartering your course, which is basically like applying the 4 keys to Disney Cruise Line and just learning about that and the whole process that goes through from when the guests first book their cruise to getting on the ship and all the things that they can expect on the ship, which is super cute. And it finished really early, and for some reason they drop you off at Epcot, so we ended up spending pretty much all day in Epcot, which was really fun. And then June 30th, 2018 was my Embark day, and you have to get up ridiculously early in the morning. 5:15 is when they pick you up from the hotel to take you to the ship, and it was so surreal. I remember driving it, the closer we got to Port Canaveral and the more water that I saw, and then when I eventually saw the ship in the distance, I was thinking, what am I doing? Like, what? Why am I doing this? Like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. Like, I'm so far away from home. I don't have any friends or family here. Like, what am I gonna do if I don't like this? The weirdest, craziest thing I've ever done. And I didn't know if I was gonna enjoy it. I didn't know if I was gonna be seasick, which is quite funny actually, because in my visa appointment, the guy was like, let's hope you don't get seasick if this is the first time you're on a cruise. I'm like, me too, pal. But yeah, I remember that first moment seeing the ship and I was thinking, oh my god. And I was excited, but I was just thinking, there's literally no turning back now. And then, yeah, they do some security stuff with you, and then you get picked up by the HR guy that takes care of you for that week, and you go on the ship. It's the most surreal experience that you'll ever go through. And being a crew member is unlike anything else that I've ever experienced before, and it's so hard to explain. I don't even know. When people ask about it, they always have these expectations, and you're like, unless you've been there and done it, you'll never know. But let me tell you, it's a very, very rewarding experience. You get to travel and see the world and work for Disney and create magical moments for families and just have the best time. So if you're thinking about doing it, definitely go and do it. Apply for it once applications open back up again, once the cruising happens again, because honestly, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I personally don't know anybody that works on cruise ships or does anything like I've done, and it was just so out of the ordinary for somebody from where I live. And yeah, if you think you can't do anything like that, or you're not somebody that people would expect that to happen to, do it. Exceed people's expectations. Go and do this opportunity of a lifetime and be that person that people are like, oh my god, have you seen what this person's doing now? Truly the best experience you will ever go through. You're gonna make some great friends, you're gonna see awesome places, and just live your best life doing a job that's just so great. That's the first part of this little series, Living in a Fantasy, that I'm doing. I'm going to be talking about your first 2 weeks on board, so what happens after you embark, the sort of things that you go through, your training and everything like that. Obviously my second week of training, and some of it is more specific to youth activities, so we'll go into that in a bit more detail in another video after that one, but for the most part I'm going to talk to you about what sort of things you can expect on your first 2 weeks on board. But for now, yeah, that's all I have to say about the application process and what it takes to become a crew member. I hope it was somewhat helpful, and I will see you real soon, as we say at Disney. Goodbye.